So you booked your cruise, now what? Well, that's exactly what we are going to talk about in this video. In this video, I am going to share with you 8 tips of things you need to do as soon as you book a cruise. These are going to be especially important for last minute deals. Now, if you guys don't know, over the weekend, I shared an incredible deal on Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas. The sailings are going to happen in September, and I personally was able to book myself on a sailing that was under $400 for a solo traveler in an insider room. You cannot beat that, and it is super exciting. But being that it's right around the corner, there were a number of things I needed to do. So in this video, I'm going to share those things with you, and I'm going to walk you through all of the steps in case you booked it. So be sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let's get into this video. Welcome back. So guys, it has been so long since I have booked a cruise outside of Virgin Voyages. So this whole process is what made me do this video, because I was a little bit behind on things I needed to do, and I was a little confused when I first booked. I'm not even gonna hold you. So you guys know I typically book Virgin Voyages, which is pretty much an all-inclusive cruise. So once you're booked, you really can kind of figure out what you want to do and do your planning once you get on board. The only thing you need to do really is to check in before your cruise, and you kind of can maneuver anything else. However, when you book with other cruise lines like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, MSC, Princess Cruises, all of them pretty much follow a different guideline where you will need to do a number of things before you get ready to get on board. Of course, since everything isn't included, lots of things are additional upcharge. So in order to have the experience you want, you really have to be prepared to add on the individual things. And that's why I always tell you guys, Virgin may not be as expensive as you think, because once you add on the essentials you need, like gratuities, Wi-Fi, specialty restaurants, a lot of times they're pretty much neck and neck in price. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the things that I added on, as well as some of the other steps of things you need to do once you get booked. So hopefully some of you guys who snagged that deal are watching this video, and this will help you to plan. But let's get into tip number 1. The first thing you need to do is purchase travel insurance. Now, really, this is like step -1, because if you plan to purchase it directly through the cruise line, you have to do so before you pay your cruise off in full. You cannot add it on after you've paid your cruise off. And if you book these last minute deals, payment in full is going to be due. So you have to decide at that moment. But if you have not, you can purchase insurance from an outside agency or outside company. I highly, highly, highly recommend doing this, especially during hurricane season, because you never know what ports of yours are going to be canceled and what travel delays you could potentially run into. The worst thing you can do is get a good deal on a cruise and then end up out of a lot of extra money because you need to get a hotel because you're stuck somewhere, because that is the reality of what could happen. It's rare, but I just want to tell you guys and be upfront about it. The company that I recommend is Allianz Travel. They have individual plans as well as annual plans that will cover all of your trips for the next 365 days. The thing to note about travel insurance is that they differ from company to company. So just make sure you read over the coverages and know exactly what is covered and what is not. And most importantly, you need to book that insurance quickly, because with many of these companies, once they call it like the incident, or once like a hurricane is already formed, you can't just run and buy your insurance then. You have to already have it before the event has happened. I think that's how they word it. So it's best to go ahead and purchase that as soon as you book your cruise and you know that you are going. It's probably going to extend to your flights and everything as well, so that you can be safe and completely covered. The next thing you want to do is download the app for whatever cruise line you're going on. So in this case for me, it was Royal Caribbean. And in the app, you typically will have some pre-check-in items that you can do. It will ask you to add your birth certificate information or your passport. Maybe you will scan your passport, take a photo of yourself, add your emergency contact, as well as the credit card that you would like on file. It is so imperative that you go ahead and do that before you get to the cruise port, because it is just going to speed up the process of you getting on the ship. This is also where you are going to select your check-in time. So this is going to determine the time that you can actually board the ship. So since you are booking this cruise late, if you are last minute If you're grabbing one of those last minute sailings, you're probably going to be one of the last ones to board the ship, which isn't a bad thing. But I mean, if you're already in the city, you want your vacation to start as soon as possible. So definitely go in, do those check-in items, and grab your time that you will get to board. The next thing you need to do is develop a transportation plan. So if you are flying into Miami or wherever your cruise is going to take off, you need to have a plan for how you're going to get to the cruise port and how you're going to return back to the airport. And so typically sometimes I'll book directly with the cruise line. So like the good thing about Royal Caribbean and Carnival for sure is that they have shuttle buses that are at the airport that will take you directly to the port. So if I fly in the day of, which I don't recommend, but when I do, I'm able to get on that shuttle and go directly to the port through that line. Otherwise, I just take an Uber or Lyft to the port. It just depends which one is cheaper and what the best option is. But it's always best to go ahead and plan that up front so that you don't land somewhere and realize that you don't have a strategy for how you're going to get to the cruise. So go ahead and lay out all that transportation. And I guess in this, I can include getting your flights and everything too. But I highly recommend to check your flights before you ever book a cruise, because sometimes the flights are so expensive that it just cancels out the savings that you would get on a cruise. So it could be something going on in that city. I know Miami is having a carnival that's coming up soon. So there are all kinds of things that go on that will raise the prices of flights. So probably check your flight price before you lock in a cruise. And then afterwards, just make sure you have everything in place for how you're going to get from the airport to the cruise port. The fourth thing you want to do is to know where your birth certificate is and check your passport. Ensure that your passport does not expire within 6 months of your sailing. And if you're going to go the birth certificate route, just make sure that you have an original birth certificate, the one that has the seal on it and all of that. Because I can't tell you the number of times I think I know where my birth certificate is and I don't. Like I've even had to call my mom to get it before because I literally just couldn't find it. So after you book your cruise, whether you're 30 days out or months out, I recommend going ahead and knowing where those documents are, just putting eyes on them, just making sure that they're in great condition, because the last thing you want is to make your trip to the cruise port and you can't board because you don't have what you need. So go ahead, stack those up, know where they are, make a mental note so that you'll be prepared. Okay, so this is where we get into some fun stuff, because this is something that I haven't done in a while just because I'm so used to the solo process on Virgin Voyages. But one of the things that I highly recommend that you do is to look up the Facebook sailing for your particular cruise date. So what this is going to do is this is going to let you kind of like sit back and see who's going to be on the cruise, and you're going to get to join in on the excitement of a particular sail date. There are going to be people that are going to be on the ship with you that are going to be posting all kinds of things like, is anyone else solo? Who wants to meet up here? And so it's a good opportunity for meeting some people or making a plan to meet some people that you are going to be on a cruise with. Now, I absolutely love doing this as a solo traveler because I do always like to at least kind of know one person that's going to be on board. And I like to scope out. A lot of times in the Facebook group, I won't say anything, but I'll join the group so that I can just kind of see what people are saying and kind of scope out who's going to be there. So it's a good way to kind of get a heads up of who else is going to be on the sailing with you. Now, the way that you would do this is you just want to go to Facebook, go to the search bar and type in whatever the name of your ship is and the dates. And so there's usually going to be a travel agent or someone who has started this group that is going to kind of like be an admin, and you can just post whatever you want in there. Like sometimes I see people do things where they are planning to go on excursions together, or they're looking for people to join and things like that. So it's a great opportunity to see who's going to be on your sailing and to meet some people that are going to be on there. The sixth thing you want to do is go ahead and pre-plan and purchase your excursions or any add-ons for your cruise. Now, this is something that I typically have not had to deal with because I cruise Virgin so much, and like beverages and things like that are already included. But of course, with these other cruise lines, they are not. So the cheapest way to get like a drink package, get an excursion or anything anything is going to be to pre-purchase it before you get on the ship. It is going to go up to being so much more expensive once you get on board. So you definitely want to go ahead and book that stuff in advance. And I actually found right now that Royal Caribbean is having an amazing sale. I think they called it like a pre-Black Friday sale, but the drink package they say is usually over $100, and they're currently offering it for $49 a day, which I think is really good. I typically am not someone that would get the drink package. However, at that rate, it may be worth it because it's only going to be $200 for my entire sailing. And that's probably like the average of what I spend if I do, get additional drinks or anything. So this is where you're going to buy your specialty dining. You're going to buy all of the things that you want to enjoy while you are on your sailing. This particular sailing I'm going on with Royal Caribbean does include going to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and I really, really want to go to the adult only area, which is Hideaway Beach. It was so much fun the last time I went. It is absolutely beautiful, and they have great food that is included. And one of the things that is great about Royal Caribbean and Perfect Day at Coco Cay is that your drink package does extend to the island. So whatever you buy while you're on the island is going to pull from that drink package if you've already purchased it. So I think that it is a great idea to go ahead and pre-plan what you want to do and know before you get on board, because you're going to pay a significant amount more if you don't. Next, you want to go ahead and take a look at what the theme nights are going to be for your cruise. Now, I won't lie, I have not sailed Royal Caribbean in a minute, so honestly, I don't know. It varies for the number of days that you're going to be sailing. So like if you're on a 7-day sailing, I know you have 2 formal nights. If you're on a shorter sailing, you're going to have at least 1 formal night. So you want to find that information out. That Facebook group is going to be a good source for you, and you can also look at the previous sailing that happened to get an idea of what the themes nights were. And so a lot of times I know with Royal Caribbean and Carnival, they'll have a white night, and they'll usually have some kind of Caribbean night where you can wear like a luau type shirt or like floral print. And so of course it's not required that you wear these things when you go on these cruises. However, it does feel good to kind of like be in the right dress when you go, like especially for formal night, because luckily I tend to dress like kind of formally naturally. But the worst thing you could do is like not pack anything but shorts and like little swimsuits, and then you either can't go to the main dining room or feel awkward going the good night when they have like the steak and all that. So you definitely want to pre-plan and take a look at what those theme nights are going to be. For the 4-night sailings, it appears that this is what it's going to be. But I'm not 100% sure, because actually Wonder of the Seas was doing 7-night sailings up until this point. And so their first 4-night sailing is going to happen this week. So later on, after this video is posted, I'll know exactly what the theme nights will be, and I can share that with you guys if you reach out to me and ask. Okay, so we've reached the final tip in this list, and that is to print your documents. When you are dealing with Royal Caribbean, a lot of the information that you do in the pre-check-in will be in the app. However, things like your luggage tags will need to be printed out, and sometimes you need to print out your confirmation. So be sure to do that before you leave, just because you don't want to get to a town that you're going to if you're flying into Miami and you have to pay extra to print out at your hotel. So you want to make it as convenient as possible and be as prepared as possible. So go ahead, print out those documents, and plan to be ready on cruise day. Thank you guys for watching these tips. Hopefully this helped you with planning the things that you need to do before you take your cruise. I hope you guys snag some of these amazing solo cruise deals that are about to roll out and have an amazing time. If you're going somewhere, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear where you're going and send you well wishes. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Bye.